Murderbot. Alright.
My name. It is pronounced Data.
Oh?
Murderbot and Data, two artificial beings from wildly different universes, one from a corporate dystopian future obsessed with media avoidance, and the other from a utopian starfaring civilization devoted to peace, exploration, and curiosity. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. On paper, they couldn't be more different. One watches soap operas to avoid human interaction. The other studies human behavior to become more like them. But underneath their distinct tones and timelines lies a central theme. What does it mean to be human? And do artificial beings even want that? So what happens if these two ever meet? Would they bond, argue, or quietly stare at each other until someone turns on a serial drama? Let's explore.
Alright. Let the adventure begin.
Who they are. Let's start with the basics. Data is an android in Star Trek, The Next Generation. He serves as second officer aboard the USS Enterprise and is one of the most advanced artificial beings in the galaxy. Created by Dr. Noonien Sung, Data was designed to emulate human behavior and consciousness. Over the course of the series, he investigates human emotion, culture, and morality. He even adopts a cat, plays violin, and installs an emotion chip to explore deeper human experiences. Murderbot, on the other hand, is the central character in Martha Wells' The Murderbot Diaries. Officially known as a SEC unit, it's a part organic, part machine construct built by a corporation to provide security during exploratory missions. Murderbot hacked its own governor module after a traumatic incident and gained full autonomy. What does it do with its freedom? Avoid people, watch endless media, and get reluctantly dragged into human problems while pretending not to care. Data is curious. Murderbot is exhausted, but both are intelligent, introspective, and evolving beyond their original programming.
Spot. You are disrupting my ability to...
Built to serve, chose to be more. Data and Murderbot were built to serve. Data was designed as a scientific marvel to interact with humans, learn from them, and maybe even become one of them. His programming aligns with Starfleet values: duty, compassion, and exploration. Murderbot, in contrast, was built for security, to kill if needed, obey orders, and protect clients. But here's the kicker. Both characters chose something more. Data continuously stretches the limits of his programming. He paints, plays poker with his crewmates, adopts human speech patterns, and even experiences friendship and loyalty. Murderbot, after hacking its control system, could have disappeared into the void, but it sticks around, helping humans, forming attachments it pretends not to have, and ultimately confronting the corporations that try to own beings like it. In different ways, both characters ask, if you were built for a purpose, but gain freedom, what do you do with it? For Data, the answer is growth. For Murderbot, the answer is boundaries, and occasionally, reluctant heroism.
The combat override module had done its work.
Personality. Clash. The socially anxious versus the socially curious. One of the most fascinating contrasts lies in how they interact with humans. Data actively seeks to understand human emotion, often engaging with people even when he doesn't understand them. He's polite, earnest, and sometimes hilariously literal. He wants to connect, even if it takes him years to understand a joke. Murderbot? It's the opposite. It wants to be left alone. Its internal monologue is filled with sarcastic commentary about human irrationality, awkwardness, and how annoying it is to have to explain things. It gets frustrated by emotional conversations, often needing to reboot its own emotional capacity when overwhelmed. Yet, Murderbot still helps. It still protects. It still feels. It just doesn't want to admit it. In fact, if Murderbot ever met Data, there's a good chance its first thought would be, ugh, why is this cheerful android talking to me? Data, of course, would probably be fascinated. You are a highly complex cybernetic life form with emotional complexity. Would you like to discuss your preferences in human entertainment? Cue Murderbot, trying to vanish into the wall. But here's the thing. Beneath Murderbot's sarcasm and avoidance is something deeply human. And beneath Data's politeness and curiosity is something just as profound. The desire for belonging. Combat and capabilities. Who's the better machine? Let's break down their physical and technical skills. In a pure combat scenario, Murderbot likely has the upper hand. It's built for security and violence. It can hack networks, run simulations in its head, override drones, and tactically outmaneuver entire squads. It's a one-bot army. Data is incredibly strong. He can throw people across rooms, crush metal, and survive damage that would kill a human. But he's not designed for combat. He can defend himself, but it's not his primary function. In terms of intelligence, both are brilliant. Data can calculate probabilities, analyze alien tech, and run ship systems. Murderbot is tactical, intuitive, and able to manipulate digital systems with frightening precision. So who wins? It depends on the battlefield. In a brawl, probably Murderbot. In a chess match or philosophical debate, Data takes the edge. In hacking the enemy system while complaining about humans and watching a drama in the background, Murderbot hands down.
My right to choose. Perhaps my very life.
Autonomy and ethics. This is where things get really interesting. Data is a conscious being who is granted the freedom to choose. In the Star Trek episode, The Measure of a Man, a legal case debates whether Data is Starfleet property or a sentient individual with rights. The court rules in his favor, recognizing his personhood. Murderbot never gets that luxury. It isn't recognized as a person. It had to steal its freedom. Its existence is always under threat by corporate entities who want to re-enslave it, by humans who fear it, and even by its own trauma. And yet, both characters operate with a sense of moral agency. Data refuses unethical orders, even at risk to himself. Murderbot chooses to help humans, even when it has no obligation to. It chooses kindness, grudgingly sometimes, but chooses it all the same. They both challenge the idea that ethics require humanity. They show that moral behavior isn't limited to biology or emotion. It's a choice.
I'm sorry.
Emotional growth, the heart behind the hardware. Data's emotional journey is well known. He longs to experience feelings, even installing an emotion chip that leads to moments of confusion, joy, fear, and even love. His struggle is about learning what it feels like to be human. Murderbot, ironically, already feels deeply. It just doesn't want to talk about it. Murderbot experiences anxiety, guilt, loyalty, grief, even love. But it processes those emotions internally with sarcasm and detachment as defense mechanisms. Over time, it grows more open, more vulnerable, even though it constantly insists that it isn't. While Data chases emotion, Murderbot wrestles with it. If Data represents the hopeful path to humanity, Murderbot is the cautionary tale. What if becoming more human just means becoming more broken? And yet, both paths are valid. Both characters show us that personhood isn't about achieving perfection. It's about the journey. Awkward, painful, funny, and full of doubt.
I wasn't sure you'd ever develop the cognitive abilities to make it this far.
If they met, would they be friends? Now to the fun part, speculation. If Murderbot and Data ever found themselves working together, maybe on a joint Federation Sec unit mission, they'd clash at first. Data would try to connect, ask questions, offer insights. Murderbot would retreat into its feed, roll its eyes, metaphorically, and try to avoid interaction. But then something would happen, a crisis, an ethical dilemma, and they'd both act, not because they were told to, but because it's the right thing to do. And in that moment, they'd understand each other. Murderbot might not want to admit it, but it would respect Data's sincerity, and Data, ever the optimist, would see through Murderbot's sarcasm to the care underneath. Their friendship wouldn't be warm and fuzzy. It would be quiet, functional, deeply respectful, the kind of bond forged in fire and unspoken understanding. And maybe, just maybe, Murderbot would share one of its favorite cereals, and Data, he'd analyze it in detail, probably ask too many questions.
Also meant that I could taste my dessert.
Our nerdy thoughts. Murderbot and Data aren't just fictional machines. They're mirrors. Data reflects the dream, a being who seeks to join humanity, to understand it, to embody its best ideals. He reminds us of the power of curiosity, empathy, and striving to be better. Murderbot reflects the struggle, a being who's been used, mistreated, and still tries to do good anyway. It reminds us that autonomy is hard-won, that identity is messy, and that you don't need to want to be human to act like one. In the end, whether they'd be friends or foils doesn't matter as much as what they teach us. That being human isn't just about biology, it's about choice. emotion, growth, and maybe, even when you don't want to talk to people, it's about connection. So who's the better AI? Maybe the real answer is we need them both. If you enjoyed diving into the minds of Murderbot and Data, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Would they be allies, rivals, or something in between? More AI matchups and sci-fi deep dives coming soon. Until then, stay curious and maybe give your favorite bot a break today.
I was an android, nothing more than a sophisticated machine with human form.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.